Welcome back to Archery. Today we will review a very beautiful chronograph. Yeah, it's chronograph at this small. So I've been trying to find out what kind of chronograph good for me for testing many bows. But finally I decided that this is the best choice for me. Because it's very small and also the technology is quite different with the other chronograph for archery. So this chronograph is actually based on radar. Radar is actually radio detection and ranging technology. So what is inside this box is actually there is a transmitter to transmit electromagnetic wave in radio frequency. And also inside this box there is also another receiver. From the transmitted wave, there is some part of the wave go back to this receiver, and then we can record the receiver and compare the time travel to measure the speed of the object under detection. So you can see, very small. We will look closer later. Okay? But how to use this for archery? I tried to find out in internet, is there anybody use this radar for archery? But I cannot find any information about that. So I decided to try and experiment myself. So when you buy FX radar, you just get this one, nothing else. There is other part here. But usually if you use this for airsoft gun, they put these devices below the barrel so it can detect pellet getting out of the barrel. But for archery, it's quite tricky. To use this device, first we have to understand how it works. So let me explain you how the radar works. So this is the radar at this small. Yes? Inside any radar, there is transmitter, there is receiver, and processor. Okay? So transmitter will transmit electromagnetic wave. As you know, this must be in radio frequency. That's why we call radar, because it's radio detection and ranging. Radio frequency is quite long wavelength, but the speed of electromagnetic wave is still very high speed, 300 million meters per second. So the FX radar transmitter will transmit an electromagnetic wave, and imagine this is your arrow. So the electromagnetic wave moves by velocity of light, and your arrow moves by velocity of the arrow. Of course, the velocity of the light is much bigger than velocity of your arrow. So what will be happen is, there is some part of the wave will be transmitted back and then received by the receiver. And there is a processor inside this FX radar that process to calculate the velocity of the arrow. That is how it works, but you don't have to understand all of the electromagnetism and physics to use this. So to use this radar for archery, what you need is simply a tripod. This one is the pop filter, usually for microphone, but just cut the middle so you can have a hole to shot your arrow inside the hole, because this is very sensitive. So my setup is like this. I put this to tripod, okay? And then we have to make sure that this setup is good. So this is your FX radar. This is the pop tree. And then when we shot, we have to make sure that the arrow is at the middle of the pop tree. So this FX radar is very sensitive. It can detect object moving within any velocity within the range of 6 inch width, so 6 inch, and then 8 inch. Okay? So we have to make sure that the arrow goes through this in the right position. So you can imagine if it go like this, the radar will send the electromagnetic wave and then send it back, some of the reflectance, and then you can measure the velocity. However, because of the big dimension of this arrow, you have to make sure that this is going through the middle of this pop tree. Otherwise, it cannot detect. For example, if you go like this, right? Remember that the range of detection is just about 8 inches and 6 inches width. Okay? So make sure that we shot at this position. Okay, that is the setup. The good thing with FX radar is it has no display here, but here in your mobile phone. What you have to do is just turn on. We have to turn on the radar. Okay? And then open our mobile app. You have to download first the FX radar application from Android or iOS store. And then after that you can use it. So once you have your radar turned off, then you can start the FX radar application. There is some option there in the application, but you don't have to worry about that. Just move. And then you have to make sure that the Bluetooth is connected. And if the application found that is the paired device, and then you can connect to the device. Okay? It takes some seconds to connect, so just be patient. And now it's ready to be used. But before, we have to set the configuration of this radar for archery. So if you open the general profile, you will see that there is an option for bow at 147 to 459 FPS. Just choose that option. And also there is an option for pellet. In this case, you have to know the weight of your arrow. Just put 400, maybe it's approximately 25 gram of arrow is 400, but you can also put 500 or 450, depend to the weights of the arrow, because many arrows is actually at 25 grams or around 400 grains. And after you configure that one, you can configure the other option. But that is the most important one, is actually to set the weight of the pellet. And after that, this device is actually ready to be used for shooting. Okay, yes, that simple. So in summary, get your FX radar, download the app, FX radar app, set up your tripod like this using POP3, and then you are ready to shoot. We will do the shooting test later. Okay? When you open the package, you will get this thing, but you can just open this part and then take this out, because this one is usually for airshot barrel, that they put here the airshot barrel and then they shot here. So we don't need that for archery. We just need this one. This is the radar. This is my finger, as for you to compare. It's a very small radar. This is the front side. This is the back side. You can open this part and put some battery. It requires 3 battery. And then once you are ready, you just start this button, and then you will see the light here. Green light means it's already on. It will turn on the Bluetooth, and from the application, you can connect to this one. So once connected, you can open the application name FX Radar, okay? And then if they found the paired device, and then just connect, okay? It takes some second to connect, and then once connected, you will get this. This means you are ready to shot. And every shot will be stored inside a string. This is the sample of the string. Okay. String means that it stores the value of your shottings every time it put in one bucket or string. Okay. What you need to configure for Archery is actually go to the setting for general profile and then put this option to bow or airsoft. Okay. And then you can put also the weight of the pellet grains. Just put 400 for 25 grams arrow or maybe 500 for 30 grams arrow. And then all is optional setting. One set, you connect again, and then it's ready to shot. Okay? This is ready to shot. And how we make this is actually common tripod, but in this tripod I use a placeholder for mobile phone. You can find easily in internet. And then I use this pop 3 filter. Usually we use this for microphone, but just cut this part. Okay? And then you will get this setting. Make sure that your setting is good because we will pass the arrow in this area. Okay? Ready to shot? Let's go to the shooting place later after this. Let's start test this with this arrow. This is actually 30 inches long with 9 GPP. Okay, 170 FPS. This is for FPS test. Again, 170. Again. We have to be careful using this device because the detection range is actually 6-inch width and 8-inch length. Okay? So make sure we have this reference to guide the arrow for testing. Okay? 168. Let me change the arrow. Let us use this one. This one is 10 GPP, 30 inch 10 GPP, 170. Again, this is not for accuracy test, so this is for speed test. Okay, 160. Maybe I have to fully draw at 30 inches. Okay, 168. Good. One more. 170. Okay.